He's actually in a fire zone. He's being questioned by CNN's Anderson Cooper, who asked him, why is there no water in the fire hydrants?
Right.
And Newsom then goes on to say, well, that's for something for the locals to answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, you're the governor of the state. Why are you on TV next to a fire if you don't know the answers to these questions? You are a local. You are the most local person in charge of the area. You should know, or you shouldn't be on television.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Jim Anton. I'm joined today by commentary editor Con Carroll. And Con, we're watching these horrific and tragic fires ravaging California. The politics of it aren't the most important aspect of this, but it is an important aspect in that California is a very important state for the Democratic coalition. There are a lot of national political figures and aspiring national political figures who are in office there. What do you think is the immediate political fallout of some of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially when we're coming off of an election where you saw a significant move right in Democratic jurisdictions like Los Angeles, like New York, the fact that the incompetence of the elected leaders there is showing in the ongoing nature of this disaster just show what's wrong. There's a deep rot, there's a deep sickness within the Democratic Party of California. So you've had two just terrible interviews so far. One, you had Karen Bass, who was caught in Africa on a trip when the fire started. She had to come back. And there's this video of her facing questions from reporters, and she just has a blank stare as she's just bombarded with questions. And
she really looks like she wants to jump off the jet bridge there.
Just silence, just a blank stare. And all the questions that you hear are perfectly valid. What do you have to say to the homeowners? Right. Why were you away? Why aren't you prepared for this? These are all questions that people deserve to know, and she just very clearly had no answer. As bad as that was, Gavin Newsom then goes on CNN and makes an even more terrible bungle. He's actually in a fire zone. He's being questioned by CNN's Anderson Cooper, who asked him, why is there no water in the fire hydrants?
Right.
And Newsom then goes on to say, well, that's for something for the locals to answer. I mean, come on, you're the governor of the state. Why are you on TV next to a fire if you don't know the answers to these questions? You are a local. You are the most local person in charge of the area. You should know, or you shouldn't be on television. So this just shows the incompetence of the Democratic Party leadership in California. But there's a larger sickness here. I was reading some of the coverage of why there was no why there was no fire, why there was no water in the fire hydrants. And the simple answer is that there hasn't been enough investment in the infrastructure to make sure the water could be pumped up there. So this one neighborhood, Pacific Palisades, had 3 pumps, or 3 water tanks, each higher elevation. And as the higher elevation ones got depleted, there just wasn't enough pressure in the line to get the water back up there. And then you couldn't get fire trucks in to cover it. And so property owner in the area, Mr. Caruso, who also was a former commissioner of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, said, look, we just have not been investing enough in our infrastructure in order to protect these houses, which is obviously true, borne out by what happened. And the local city councilwoman basically said the same thing, is that this was preventable. We could have been investing more in our water infrastructure to make sure water could have been pumped up there. And what I thought was so interesting was that they then asked a University of California at Berkeley professor, is this possible? Can they do it? And his answer was, look, investing in water infrastructure to protect those houses would be subsidizing rich people. Right. We just have to admit there are certain areas of the city that are uninhabitable. And I'm like, that is exactly the attitude that, is the problem in California today, is that people don't realize that the Los Angeles River Basin by itself, without any help, could only support about 300,000 people a year. It is only because past generations of Californians built dams, reservoirs, aqueducts, pipes, invested in infrastructure that Los Angeles today is able to support 4 million people. Right? And there were costs to that, right? There's the famous Owens Valley up in the Sierra Nevada. There used to be a beautiful lake, beautiful valley, doesn't exist anymore because Los Angeles sucked all its water, and it's continuing to suck all its water. This is an ongoing thing. But those are the kind of sacrifices California residents used to make in order to make Los Angeles livable. And they just don't anymore. They stopped building dams. And they have to decide, do they want a place that's livable, where they invest in water infrastructure so they can prevent forest fires like this? Or do they want to kowtow to the environmental lobby, not build anything, and just slowly burn away?
Well, the environmental aspect of this is pretty interesting because obviously there's this ongoing debate on the degree to which environmental policy is responsible for this, whether it's capitulating to radical left environmentalists, or, as a lot of Democrats argue, given that there aren't very many Republicans you can blame for things going on in California because it's a one-party Democratic state, not very many Republican elected officials, but they're about to have a Republican president again, and they say that because Trump has described climate change as a hoax, he's really responsible for sort of these wildfires. So talk a little bit about this national debate that this has sort of set off.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great national debate, and it's one we need to have as we look, forward as nations to set our priorities. I mean, look, the Santa Ana winds have existed long before Los Angeles ever did. Donald Trump did not create the Santa Ana winds, nor did climate change. This is a phenomenon that's existed forever. But when you look at it, California voters actually approved through ballot measure $2.7 billion to create new water storage. None of that has been built yet. It wasn't until just last year that the first project on the Sacramento River finally got started, and that's not going to be completed into 2031, right? That's not Trump's fault.
Right.
Trump is not the one that is holding up those billions of dollars from being invested into water infrastructure. It's California environmental rights. It's CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act, Endangered Species Act, California Coastal Commission. There are just tons of Democratic Party created entities that make it impossible to invest in infrastructure to make California a livable place.
We'll have to see if there are any electoral consequences to any of this.
I think there already have been.
Thank you, Con.
Absolutely.
You can read Con and the rest of our commentary team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.